are you? I mean, really, who are you? It sounds like such a simple question, right? But honestly, these days, the answer is, well, it's complicated. For most of human history, your identity wasn't really something you thought about. It was just a given. But now? Now it's a project. It's something you're always working on, always building. So, let's get into it and explore how modern life is completely changing our sense of self.
Okay, so here's the core idea in a nutshell. Back in the day, your identity was basically handed to you. Where you were born, your family, your social class, your gender, all of that pretty much set your path in life. But today, it's a total flip. Your identity is something you actively construct, piece by piece, from this just endless world of options. So here's our roadmap for this little journey. First, we're going to look back at that old world of the fixed identity. Then we'll dive into the two huge forces that shook everything up, globalization and consumerism. After that, we'll explore what it actually means to build an identity today, what that looks like. And finally, we'll tackle the big one. Is all this choice a good thing, or is it just confusing? All right, part one, a fixed identity. Let's rewind the clock for a minute, back to a time when who you were was simple, it was clear, and honestly, it wasn't really up to you. For our grandparents, and definitely their grandparents, identity was pretty much set in stone. If you were born into the working class, that was your world. The social rules for how men and women were supposed to act, super rigid. There just weren't that many ways to be. Now, this did provide a ton of certainty, you know? You knew exactly where you stood and what everyone expected of you. Part two, when the world arrived. And then, things started to shift. A massive new force began to crack open those old certainties, and suddenly, a whole new world of possibilities appeared on the horizon. And that force was globalization. All of a sudden, the world felt a whole lot smaller. You had goods, ideas, and cultures flowing across borders like never before. And this opened up societies that were once pretty closed off to a whole new universe of influences. I mean, just think about it. Suddenly, you could try foods from halfway across the planet. You could wear styles from completely different cultures. And you could listen to music that used to be thousands and thousands of miles away. But look, this was about so much more than just new food or new fashion. Every single new option represented a different way of living, a new piece of an identity that you could try on for size. That old single way of life was starting to fracture, and in its place, this huge menu of choices started to appear. Which brings us to part three. Shopping for a self. So if globalization gave us the menu, this second huge force is what taught us how to order from it. And that force is consumerism. It's this idea that what you buy isn't just about what it does, it's a statement. The clothes you wear, the car you drive, the coffee you drink, all of it becomes a way of signaling to the world, hey, this is who I am. Think of it like this. The past was like a tiny little market stall with a really limited selection of goods, right? Just like the limited identities that were available. But today, it's like a gigantic online mall with infinite choice. You can scroll through endless aisles, putting different things in your cart to assemble your own unique identity. You're literally shopping for a self. You know, the sociologist Ben Rampton absolutely nailed it. He described it as piecing together a sense of identity from many changing options. It's not passive anymore. It's an active, creative thing we all do. Part 4, Do You Project. So what does identity even look like in this new world of choice? What actually happens when we're constantly building and remixing who we are? Well, one major result is something sociologists call a decentred identity. Basically, because the old clear rulebook's gone, we're often a lot less certain about how we're supposed to behave. That single, stable center is gone, and we're left trying to figure it out in this much more, well, confusing social world. But, and this is a big but, all this freedom also leads to some incredible creativity. It gives rise to what are called hybrid identities. This is where people take pieces from different cultures, different categories, and fuse them together to create something totally new, something that just wasn't possible for earlier generations. A fantastic example is the Brasian identity, a term used by some young British Asians. It's not just I'm British or I'm Asian. No, it's a unique blend, a mashup of both. It's a brand new identity created from these two different cultural worlds. It's just a perfect showcase of the creative power of this new era. And that brings us to our final stop,
Freedom or confusion? Because let's be real, this new world of endless choice, it's not all smooth sailing. There's a real paradox at the heart of it. And here it is. The freedom to be anyone you want sounds amazing, right? But it can also be kind of paralyzing. This constant pressure to choose, to define ourselves to get it right, honestly, it can be exhausting. It creates this kind of low-level anxiety about whether we're making the right choices about who we are.
Think about it like this. In the past, being middle class meant something pretty specific. Today, there are a million ways to express that identity. So, which one's the right way? Which one's the real you? The lack of clear rules can feel just as much like a burden as it does a liberation.
So this is where we land. The old certainties are gone. We now live in a world where each of us is the architect of our own identity. And that gives us incredible freedom, for sure, but also a massive responsibility. So I'll leave you with this. In this giant, endless mall of identity, who are you choosing to be?